In 1988, a Japanese animated film arrived in cinemas that nobody in the West was prepared for. It cost more than any anime ever made. It used colors that didn't exist before production began. It predicted the future with an accuracy that still makes people uncomfortable. And the ending was written before the story it was ending had even been finished. 1. The creator had to write the ending before he knew the story. Here is the problem Katsuhiro Otomo faced before a single frame of Akira was animated. The manga it was based on, his own manga, published since 1982, was not finished. It wouldn't be finished until 1990. The film was scheduled for 1988. That meant Otomo had to adapt a story whose second half hadn't been written yet. His solution was to start at the end. He wrote the film's conclusion first, then worked backwards, deciding which manga elements could be compressed into a 2-hour story that would reach that endpoint cleanly. He later called this approach the worst possible idea he had ever had. He also later admitted that without the pressure of it, he might never have finished either the film or the manga at all. The film and the manga end differently. Both endings are legitimate. One man wrote them both in reverse order under impossible time pressure. 2. 7 companies had to pool money just to start. No single Japanese studio in 1988 could or would finance Akira alone. The starting budget was 500 million yen. That figure was unprecedented for an animated film. It represented a level of investment that made studio executives deeply uncomfortable. The story was dark, violent, politically charged, and aimed squarely at adults. There was no obvious model for what its audience was supposed to be. The solution was the Akira Committee, a consortium of 7 major Japanese companies, including publisher Kodansha, toy manufacturer Bandai, film giant Toho, and corporate conglomerate Sumitomo Corporation. Together, they pooled funding, shared the risk, and gave Otomo something extremely rare in the history of animation finance: creative control with serious money behind it. The final budget reached approximately 1.1 billion yen, around $10 million. It was the most expensive animated film ever made in Japan at that point. 3. The film was animated on ones, 24 drawings per second. Most animation at the time worked on 2s, 1 drawing per 2 frames of film, producing 12 unique images per second. It was the industry standard. It was how costs were controlled and deadlines were met. Akira was frequently animated on ones. That meant 24 entirely different drawings for every single second of screen time, 2 to 3 times the labor of standard animation. The finished film contained 160,000 individual hand-drawn cells, a number that would be considered extraordinary by any studio on any project at any budget level. The result is visible in every frame. The motorcycle sequences, Tetsuo's transformation, the crowd scenes. They move with a weight and fluidity that looks physically impossible for hand-drawn animation. Because to achieve it, the team did something that was essentially economically insane. 4. They invented 50 new colors. Most of Akira takes place at night. That sounds like a simple creative choice. It was actually a production catastrophe waiting to happen. Night scenes in animation require an enormous range of dark tones, shadow gradients, and subtle lighting variations. Standard anime at the time avoided extended night sequences for exactly that reason. The color requirements were prohibitive. Otomo set his entire film in them anyway. The art department's solution was to invent new colors from scratch. Working with artists and chemists, they developed approximately 50 custom paint pigments designed specifically for Akira, engineered for enhanced brightness to simulate neon light, for layering capacity in complex shadows, and for consistency across thousands of hand-painted cells. Combined with existing colors, the total palette reached 327 distinct shades. a record for animated film that has never been seriously challenged. Chief colorist Kimie Yamana later explained that many of these subtler variations were only fully visible in a cinema. On a television screen, they simply disappeared. 5. The music was composed before the animation existed. Otomo had already decided what the score would not be before he chose a composer. A producer suggested Isao Tomita, a celebrated synth pioneer and the obvious choice for a futuristic science fiction film. Otomo rejected the idea immediately. A synthesizer-heavy score, he felt, was too predictable, too expected. He wanted something that sounded genuinely alien to Japanese ears as much as Western ones. He chose Geino Yamashirogumi, an experimental performance collective whose members held day jobs in science, business, and education, and who had never scored a film before. Their music drew from Balinese gamelan, Japanese no chanting, Buddhist, ritual percussion, and reprogrammed synthesizers tuned to microtonal scales that Western instruments couldn't naturally produce. Otomo had them begin composing before the animation was complete, handing over rush footage and storyboards as they existed. The score shaped the editing shaped the score. The result sounds like nothing else in cinema. 6. The voices were recorded. Before the animation, a first for Japan. In Japanese animation, the standard process is straightforward. Animate first, then bring voice actors into a recording booth and have them match their dialogue to the lip movements already drawn. Akira reversed it entirely. The voice cast recorded all dialogue before a single frame was animated. This was standard practice at Disney in America, called pre-scoring, but it had never been done on a Japanese animated feature. The animators then drew lip movements, expressions, and physical performance to match the recorded audio. Voice actor Mitsuo Iwata, who played Kaneda, later described the experience as being unlike anything he had worked on before. He noted that his first take in the recording session perfectly matched the mouth movements when the animation was eventually completed, because the animation had been built around him, not the other way around. The performances in Akira feel different from every other anime of its era. This is why. 7. The art director said the opening scene was impossible. When Katsuhiro Otomo began developing the visual language of Neo-Tokyo, he drew a single image for his art director: a dirty, detail-saturated city sidewalk, cracked pavement, neon reflections, litter, grime, lived-in urban texture. His art director looked at it and told him it was impossible to animate. Otomo drew it anyway. He spent more than 2,000 pages of notebooks developing Neo-Tokyo's visual vocabulary before the final storyboard was trimmed to 738 pages. Every background in the finished film is packed with the density of real urban environments: advertising, infrastructure, decay, light. It required background artists to work at a level of detail that most animation studios would have considered delusional. The city of Neo-Tokyo became a character in itself, not a backdrop, an environment with its own logic, history, and weight. The art director, who called it impossible, ended up helping to build one of the most fully realized imaginary cities in the history of cinema. 8. The film predicted the 2020 Tokyo Olympics and their cancellation set in a dystopian 2019. Akira depicts Neo-Tokyo preparing to host the Olympic Games in 2020. It's a major plot point. The stadium under construction looms over the city as a symbol of forced normalcy in a society tearing itself apart. Graffiti in the film reads, "Cancel the 2020 Olympics." In 1988, the year of the film's release, all of this was pure fiction. In 2013, Tokyo won the bid to host the 2020 Summer Olympics. When the announcement was made, Japanese media immediately referenced Akira. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit in 2020 and real protests erupted demanding the games be canceled, a photograph of the film's graffiti went viral worldwide. The games were delayed to 2021 and held without spectators. Otomo had intended the Olympics as an allusion to Tokyo's 1964 Games, a symbol of Japan's post-war reconstruction. He could not have known that his imaginary 2020 would eventually match a real one, almost precisely. 9. Kaneda's bike slide has been stolen hundreds of times. There is a single shot in Akira's opening sequence that has been reproduced, referenced, homaged, and outright copied more than almost any image in animation history. Kaneda brings his motorcycle to a stop. A long, controlled slide, the bike leaning low, sparks trailing behind him as he comes to rest. The shot lasts seconds. It cost extraordinary effort to animate. It has since appeared in The Dark Knight, various Spider-Man productions, the 2004 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, and dozens of music videos. Kanye West cited Akira as his biggest creative inspiration and drew directly from the film for his stronger music video. The Matrix's visual effects supervisor John Gaita cited Akira as a key influence on the bullet time effect. The bike slide specifically has become so frequently reproduced that animation scholars now track its appearances as a measure of the film's reach. 10. The composer was chosen because he knew nothing about film scoring. What attracted Otomo to Geino Yamashirogumi was precisely what would have disqualified them anywhere else. They had no experience scoring films. They were an experimental collective with day jobs. Their approach to music was rooted in ritual, community, and ethnomusicological research, rather than commercial or cinematic convention. Otomo believed this inexperience was an asset, a composer who knew film scoring would bring film scoring instincts. He didn't want film scoring instincts. He wanted something that existed outside established categories. The collective had to reprogram their synthesizers to replicate the microtonal tunings of Balinese gamelan, scales that standard Western instruments couldn't reproduce. They essentially built new sonic tools to create a score that sounded genuinely unprecedented. It influenced hip-hop producers, electronic composers, and film scorers for decades afterward. The people who made it were not professional musicians. 11. A key animator went on to help build Studio Ghibli. Akira assembled what was effectively the greatest concentration of animation talent in Japan, working simultaneously on a single production. One of its key animators was Makiko Futaki, a young artist who contributed to some of the film's most technically demanding sequences. After Akira, she moved to Studio Ghibli, where she became a lead animator on Kiki's Delivery Service, Princess Mononoke, and Howl's Moving Castle. She died in 2016. The animation she produced across those two bodies of work represents some of the finest hand-drawn work in the history of the medium, from the kinetic violence of Neo-Tokyo to the quiet wonder of Ghibli's worlds. She worked on Akira when she was at the beginning of everything. What came after was one of the most remarkable careers in Japanese animation. 12. Otomo got the idea for the manga's ending from Jodorowsky. Katsuhiro. Otomo spent years struggling to find an ending for the Akira manga. The story had grown far beyond what he originally envisioned. The scale of it had become almost unmanageable. The inspiration for how to close it came from an unexpected source. Otomo has stated that a conversation with filmmaker Alejandro Jodorowsky, the Chilean director of El Topo and the Holy Mountain, and the man behind the legendary unproduced Dune adaptation, gave him the creative breakthrough he needed. Jodorowsky's approach to narrative, mythology, and the collision of the individual with cosmic forces unlocked something in how Otomo conceptualized Akira's conclusion. The manga that Jodorowsky helped unlock ran to over 2,000 pages. It is considered one of the greatest works in the history of the medium. 13. Warner Brothers spent 23 years, failing to remake it. In 2002, Warner Brothers acquired the rights to produce a live-action Hollywood adaptation of Akira. The deal was described as a seven-figure acquisition. What followed was 2 decades of spectacular development failure. At least 5 different directors were attached at various points. At least 10 different writers delivered drafts. Albert Hughes, Ruairi Robinson, Yom Kale-Serra, and others came and went. Leonardo DiCaprio's production company was attached as a producer in 2019. Director Taika Waititi had the project scheduled to begin filming in July 2019 for a 2021 release. Then Waititi chose to direct Thor, Love and Thunder instead. The Akira production went on indefinite hold. Years passed. In June 2025, Warner Brothers quietly let go of the distribution rights entirely. Waititi was no longer attached. After 23 years and approximately 10 writers and 5 directors, the studio gave up. 14. It was the first animated film in the Criterion Collection. The Criterion Collection releases definitive editions of films considered to be of lasting cultural and cinematic importance. Their catalog includes Bergman, Kurosawa, Tarkovsky, and Fellini. Akira was the first animated film they ever selected. The decision was made when Criterion released it on Laserdisc in 1990. It placed an animated Japanese genre film in direct company with the most critically revered live-action cinema in the world. At a time when animation was still widely regarded in the West as a medium for children, Criterion's choice was a statement. It has since been joined in the collection by a small number of other animated titles. But Akira got there first. Before any Disney feature, before any Studio Ghibli film, before any other animated work from any country. 15. Kanye West called it his biggest creative inspiration. Akira's reach into Western popular culture doesn't run only through cinema. Kanye West has publicly described Akira as his single biggest creative inspiration on multiple occasions. His 2007 music video for Stronger, built around a sample of Daft Punk's Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, directly recreates imagery from the film. The hospital sequence, the color palette, the visual rhythm of the editing, all drawn from Otomo's work. Michael Jackson featured Akira footage in the 1995 music video for Scream, his collaboration with his sister Janet. Screened on monitors aboard their spaceship. This was 1995, 7 years after the film's Japanese release. The video's inclusion of Akira was one of the clearest early signals that the film had penetrated Western popular culture far beyond the anime fanbase. 16. It changed what animation was allowed to be. Before Akira reached Western markets, animated films were generally understood as one thing: entertainment for children, or at the absolute outer edge, family audiences. Akira dismantled that assumption permanently. When it arrived in the United States in 1989 and then on home video across Europe in the early 1990s, it introduced entire generations to the idea that animation could be as violent, as political, as philosophically complex, and as visually ambitious as any live-action film. It opened distribution pipelines for Japanese animation that hadn't previously existed. It is credited as a direct catalyst for the second wave of Western anime fandom that built through the 1990s. The wave that eventually made Dragon Ball, Naruto, and Pokémon into global phenomena. The Wachowskis made The Matrix. Darren Aronofsky studied it. A generation of artists, directors, and musicians absorbed it as a foundational text. A film that cost $10 million in 1988 generated over $80 million in worldwide home video sales alone. The culture it helped reshape is now worth hundreds of billions. 160,000 hand-drawn cells, 50 colors that didn't exist before production started, an ending written before the story it was ending had been told, and a future that arrived almost exactly on schedule. Drop the fact that hit you hardest in the comments below, and subscribe. The next story is already waiting.